That is going to be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Can you believe this, guy? So if you are actually processing your orders over the weekend and you need to call Genius, they are not going to pick the call, and there is nobody is going to be in the world that can support you. Can you believe this?
Just left to figure it out on your own, Sam. Good luck.
You're expected to be a genius.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. If you're a small custom manufacturing shop switching off from spreadsheets or QuickBooks, you will likely come across GeniusERP. It is probably the only small ERP that can work with complex assemblies and BOMs in the small ERP category. In the small ERP segment, most ERP systems don't support hybrid manufacturing. And in most cases, they'll be able to support a couple of manufacturing processes. In the case of GeniusERP, they target custom manufacturers geared towards ETO processes. But how do they compare with other ERP systems such as Epicor Software, ProShop ERP, GlobalShop, ECI Software Solutions, and Infor? Also, since private equity or large investors do not back them, would they have enough funds to migrate their legacy codebase? What financial risks can you expect by choosing Genius as your ERP package? In today's episode, we invited a panel of industry experts for a live discussion on LinkedIn to discuss major stories in the ERP and digital transformation space and an objective and independent review of GeniusERP's capabilities. We covered several grounds, including their positioning in specific micro verticals and their deeper capabilities than other manufacturing ERP software. Finally, we discussed their product design, history, current cloud capabilities, and the challenges of working directly with the OEM. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. So first, we are going to start with everybody's intro, and then we are going to jump right into these stories. Phil, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing, Sam. Hi, everybody. My name is Phil Kerper, Managing Director of Ringling Business Solutions. We help leadership teams combine their core strategic plan with digital transformation plans to accelerate success. I've been in president, CEO positions at mid-market companies for over 25 years and have implemented countless ERP solutions and transformations. Really great to be here.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Phil. Dave, can I move to you next for your introduction?
Sure. Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I own a company called the Chrysler Club, where we work with business owners in the manufacturing, construction, and cannabis spaces to help them create the systems they need to reclaim their life and grow their business. And I come to you with more than 20 years in the manufacturing space, directly responsible for operations, which included several ERP implementations. So thanks for having me, Sam.
All right, thank you so much for being here, Dave. Angela, can I move to you next for your intro?
Thank you, Sam. I'm Angela Thurman. I own Thurman Co., a project management consulting company in Houston. I help to serve the customers that are looking for project management services specialized in aerospace and telecommunications, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Angela. Andy, can I move to you next for your intro?
Yes, thank you, Sam. My name is Andy Pratico. I'm been involved in ERP software for manufacturers for a long time. I've worked with manufacturers all over North America, about 2/3 of the U.S. states, about 8/10 of the Canadian provinces, over 1,000 manufacturers in my career. And I actually also teach people how to uncover the truth about ERPs before they buy. And again, Sam, thank you so much for having me attend.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And I am going to move to first story. And we have a lot of stories this week because a lot of consolidations are happening. Companies are announcing several things. So things are heating up. And my suspicion is going to be that we are going to be hearing a lot from the companies as we move along with the year. So the first story that we have is coming from Aptean. And I don't know if you guys remember Aptean. I think we are going to be doing a show on them. We have not done it, but they have, from the strategy perspective, they have similar strategy as your Epicor Infor, or comparable is probably going to be ECI because they operate slightly in the smaller space as compared to your Infor Epicor. So in their case, they have announced a recent acquisition, which is for Objective Holding. And now they have brought in this MES, the WMS, and also they have the WFM solution. So, their manufacturing solution were slightly weaker, and we have seen this trend consistently across the vendors that everybody is trying to get into the ME space because that's where the industry 4.0 movement is happening, and that's where companies are investing a lot of dollars. So everybody is trying to create their offerings as full stack, whether you talk about the hardware vendors or you talk about the software vendors. So in their case, they have acquired a MES system, they have acquired a WMS system, and they also acquired a WFM system. And the WFM system is going to be equally critical, especially for the manufacturing company, because the kind of HCM processes that they have, the kind of labor loss that they have, and they have to deal with the unions as well. So WFM solution for the manufacturing organization could be extremely unique. Companies like Infor already carries that product. There are going to be companies such as, I don't know if Epicor has WFM solution in their portfolio, but seems like Aptean is going really, really hard with their manufacturing capabilities. The company is coming from Europe, if I am not mistaken. So this is the Belgium-based company that they have acquired. So obviously they are going to have a little bit of presence in Europe, and they had roughly 90 employees as part of this.
It's interesting, Aptean, most of their products are targeted at smaller, less sophisticated manufacturers. So it's really interesting. They're bringing on WMS, workflow management. These are like very high-end tools. So depending upon what the target market of that new product is, it could be a really interesting shift for them.
Yeah, so my understanding of their strategy is going to be they are probably going to follow similar strategy as Infor, because Aptean, my understanding, and Andy, you can correct me if I'm off here, they started as more of the iPaaS layer. They were more of the integration platform because before they became vertical. And if my understanding is right, even Infor started that way.
You're correct in both cases, and both are growing through acquisition, or at least Infor used to be. They're not doing that so much anymore, but yeah, that's a very, very good analogy.
Yeah, exactly. So now I think they are following the similar approach, but this is going to be for slightly more smaller businesses. Now compare this with ECI that we did last week. ECI has very different. They don't really have the iPaaS solution where they can integrate multiple solutions. These are thin slices that every manufacturer is going to need, as opposed to buying the duplicate code. So I agree with the way your Aptean is approaching the market, the way your Epicor is approaching the market, the way your Infor is approaching the market. But ECI is going to be extremely tricky place to be in my opinion.
Could be risky.
Okay, if you don't have any other comment, then the second story is coming from our friends at Epicor. And Epicor, I think we covered this story last week as well, briefly, but now we have some more details. This is related to their recent release of Prophet 21. So they are claiming that this is probably going to be the cloud-based. I don't know if this is cloud native. I don't think it was clear when we did the session with Epicor. My understanding of this is going to be this is still not cloud native, and it's not really ported on the Kinetic platform, but maybe I'm off. So as part of this now, what they have provided is Epicor Cloud Enterprise Service Package, which is geared towards large distribution companies and can provide them with the control and flexibility they need to manage global operations from a single, scalable, and secure cloud platform. Other upgrades include an improved user experience, more database access. I don't know what that means, to be honest. A customizable upgrade schedule and a modular design to improve the way users can personalize and configure their Epicor Profit 21 solution. Based on the way I am reading, it does seem like it is probably going to be a kinetic platform that they have ported it on. So now number one, you are going to have slightly more consolidation capabilities. Maybe they did not have the consolidation capabilities before. So now this is going to be working for slightly bigger organization, bigger distribution organization. I don't think they were competing with the Cloud Suite distribution product. That is going to be a very different product, from Infor, that was slightly positioned for the global distribution enterprises. But now I think Epicor is going to be able to compete there. So the comparable here are probably going to be NetSuite, Infor, Cloud Suite distribution, and then Epicor Profit 21. Okay, if you guys have any comments, I can take those. Otherwise, I can move to the next story. The next story is coming from a vendor called Accounting Seed. And Andy, I don't know if you have or anybody else in the room have heard of this vendor. I was not familiar with them. So this is the first time.
Not familiar, Sam.
Yeah, so this is the first time I am coming across them, and they seem to be fairly advanced overall with their capabilities. But my understanding is going to be that they are still very professional services centric organization. By the way, if you pay attention to the slide, it is saying it is powered by Salesforce. So it must be the add-on on top of the Salesforce platform. And if you actually read the kind of feature sets they have, it's going to be the solution is designed to help companies track financial data across business life cycles from marketing, sales, back office accounting, and project implementations. That's the keyword. So this is going to be for the professional services companies because that's where Salesforce really likes to play, especially for the ERP play. Salesforce is not as prevalent in the manufacturing, distribution, retail organization from the ERP play perspective. They are present from the CRM play perspective, but they very rarely compete in the manufacturing space unless you are talking about the root stock solution. That is the only other Salesforce offering that they have that sits on top of Salesforce that competes in the manufacturing space. But other than that, when you look at Financial Force, Accounting Seed, they all are very professional services centric solutions. So in this particular case, Accounting Seed has announced the consolidation capabilities, if I'm reading this right. So now its features include order management, tax accounting, data security, inventory management. Now this inventory management is not your retail and distribution management. This is going to be slightly more, construction or the professional services centric inventory management, where you have to track a bunch of inventory from your laptop to your office supplies, the kind of inventory that professional services companies track. The automated billing is a big part of the professional services companies. Reporting, financial dashboard, no code general ledger. Now, majority of the software development firms, the marketing firms, they are big into the development. So obviously they are offering the no code capabilities for the general ledger and payment managing and fancy user interface. The Accounting Seat customers can guarantee compliance with the accounting standards related to consolidations. Again, in case of professional services organization, they have slightly deeper needs overall when it comes to their needs for the accrual accounting, complying with IFRS. The way they need to recognize their revenue is going to be very different. So now Accounting Seat can support all of those processes. Accurately forecast company goals, convince stakeholders, okay, blah, blah, blah. Magnolia release is the term that they are using. I think that is used in conjunction with in the Salesforce ecosystem a lot. I don't know if this is aligned with that. So my understanding of this is going to be it is really aligned with one of the Salesforce release, and Salesforce typically call it as more of the UI release. They are simply naming it. So this add-on is trying to align it with that release. So Magnolia release include performance updates for accounting seats, bank reconciliation tools, the ability to match source record updates to bank direct connect, cache and permission. Okay, so that's pretty much it from the story. The major takeaway from the story is going to be that they are going to have a lot of consolidation capabilities and a lot more capabilities from the professional services accounting perspective. Okay, the next story is coming from our friends at Syspro. So Syspro has announced a recent update, and this is going to be, I think they seem to be following similar life cycle as how Acumatica works. So they call this as R2 2021, which seems to be, roughly 2 releases. I don't know if they do 2 or more than that, but from this, it does seem like that this is going to be the second release for 2021, and we are towards the end of 2021. So these must be just 2 releases a year. So Syspro R2 2021 release introduces increased inventory control capabilities to give users more accurate control over stocking processes. I don't know what that means. It's very generic. It's not saying anything. It's saying some of the additional low-code capabilities. Maybe they have done something related to reporting, but again, it's not entirely clear what they mean here. Expanded self-service capabilities via Syspro's interface web platform. The way I'm reading this is, now I don't know if Syspro used to have any sort of vendor or customer portals. So it seems like they have introduced now the vendor and customer portals, and that's what would mean when you say self-service capabilities in my mind. The self-service features will help Syspro customers extend their account management capabilities to customers and suppliers alike, empowering them to review account statuses, obtain, copy invoices, and reduce administrative burdens. Again, the way I'm reading this is probably going to be the customer and vendor portal. I don't know if they had that before. The next story is coming from Freshworks. And as you know, Freshworks is the smaller accounting platform, just like your Intuit or Zoho or Zendesk is not in the accounting play just yet. But then you have the comparables such as Xero, which has the accounting platform. Now, all of these smaller players, they are trying to get into the CRM space. We have seen with the acquisition of MailChimp, with the SurveyMonkey, that they all are trying to grab the CRM capabilities. So Freshworks is doing similar things. So here, Freshworks has announced a new customer relationship management solution for startups. Okay, they are really into that small, really super tiny weeny startup space. That's where Freshworks play, and they have acquired a CRM, announced a new CRM solution for startups so that they don't have to go to Salesforce or other competing solutions. They can stay with Freshworks with their accounting. So everybody is either going deep with their capabilities. Accounting players are trying to acquire CRM capabilities. The CRM players are trying to acquire accounting capabilities. So it's a fun position to be in. Now, the Fresh Stack is built to help startup companies create personalized marketing campaigns, develop the pipeline, deliver omni-channel service. They are using the word service. That is very critical. So typically, omni-channel word is used with commerce companies where you are looking for the omni-channel experience for the commerce companies. But I think Freshworks is more into the professional services space. That's why they are calling omni-channel service, and they are saying grow faster. Freshstack combines functionalities from Freshdesk, Fresh Sales, Fresh Marketer, and this is the same terminology that Zendesk uses as well. And this is going to be Freshdesk is going to be for your customer service. Fresh Sales is going to be similar, Sales Cloud that HubSpot has, Salesforce has, but obviously Fresh Work is going to be much smaller platform. And then now you have the Fresh Marketer as well. Okay, I have the next story, which is going to be e-promise. And I had never heard of this platform either. And they seem to be really deep overall in their ERP capabilities. Andy, have you heard of them before? Okay, anybody else? Phil, Angela, Dave?
Have not.
Okay, so here the ePromise is a very interesting organization. So we need to cover them because obviously they are in the ERP space. So here they are saying the ePromise has announced the release of Future Gen Enterprise Cloud, a new cloud-based all-in-one software to help organizations manage and scale their business from single platform. Now they are saying the cloud platform can help large enterprises. Okay, so they have used the word large enterprises. I don't know if they really mean it or they are simply trying to oversell it. Maybe they are really big overall from the solution perspective, and that could be the reason why we have never heard of them.
The amazing thing about the word large or small or whatever a target is that it's all relative. We don't know what large means.
Right, but typically when you use the enterprise word, enterprise itself is very large, and then you are using large on top of that. In my mind, it's going to be really, really large. Okay, so meaning you are targeting the Fortune 500 organization. But now, the next word they are using is the growing companies. So my understanding is going to be that is SMB. So basically what they said is I can work with anybody and everybody. They are not clear what their target market is. Let's just put it this way. Okay, companies modernize business processes, automate processes, reduce cost, whatever, blah, blah, blah. ePromise Solutions is a global software company. Development company, by the way, guys, okay? Pay attention to the word. They are saying they are a software development company. Typically, ERP companies don't like to call themselves as the software development company. At least I have not seen that. That offers a suite of solutions addressing a spectrum of enterprise functionality. Its ePromise platform is designed to be a simple to use, fully integrated ERP system with core modules for procurement. So they are, first targeting procurement, and then they are saying project costing. So my understanding is going to be this is slightly more construction play, financial accounting, purchase, inventory management, sales, HR, asset management, transportation. Transportation is something that we have not seen. So maybe these guys are really good at maybe 3PL space, or they have a very unique play, but then they have the manufacturing as well. So most likely it is either going to be transportation or it's going to be construction, but they do seem to have some modules, which I noticed: ERP, ACM, CRM, EAM, and CAFM. I have no idea what that is. Okay. E-commerce, website building, marketing automation, project cost management, customer service collaboration. Great. Does anybody know what CAFM is? Okay, so I have no idea whether that is a construction specific term. I was thinking, if Dave could chime in, but seems like that could be okay. So here they have a little bit of verbiage that we might want to pay attention to. So they started as a company to supply accounting software to small businesses. ePromise has now evolved to a leading enterprise management software provider catering to the needs of different industries, functions, departments for medium, large enterprises. And yeah, so the way I am going to perceive this as they are really small. They are still very small. They are not very large. They are hoping to target the larger companies, but they are probably not.
Yeah, I just glanced at their website, Sam. It's very generic. They don't use the term CAFM in their product groups either. So they're not referencing that on their website that I could find as well.
Well, it's computer-aided facility management. So maybe it's to do with real estate development or...
Where did you find that, Andy? Are you sure about that, or are you guessing?
No, I just looked up the acronym.
Interesting. So maybe they have a little bit of real estate play, because that's how I am perceiving this. But why would you have transportation in that? So yeah.
Well, transportation can mean a lot, like in every ERP functionality, transportation can mean a lot of things, right? It's the logistics is really what that means, right? Usually.
Yeah. But real estate companies, I don't know what they are doing with logistics.
Why are they doing logistics? Yeah, I agree. I don't know.
But facility management implies that they're managing the building, that they're responsible for the infrastructure, for everything that's going on in that building, security, et cetera.
Which goes hand in hand with the EAM acronym they have on there, right?
Yep.
So maybe they are these repair companies. They are targeting these repair companies because they are probably going to have their in-house fleet, and they need to do the route planning, etc. And then they are going to have the facility. So, the target market could be, I don't know, I'm simply guessing from here, maybe janitorial, management or facility management companies, or the real estate. That could be a possibility.
Regardless, just by making the statements as they are, this is obviously a very strong product at one level.
Well, so unless we look at these screens, we don't know what they have. You can you can do whatever you want in the marketing pitch, but unless we look at these screens, we don't know. Okay, so we have the last story for the day, and that is coming from our friends at Workado. And I think we have spoken about Workado in the past. So Workado is really the iPaaS platform. We have covered, iPaaS, other iPaaS platforms such as Celigo. We have covered Jitterbit a bit, and then we have other iPaaS platforms such as your Dell Boomies of the world. Who else is there in that space? Those are TIBCO Scribe is there. So Workado, they are going really big in terms of their funding. This is the Series E funding, and they have got $200 million. That's a big money, guys. So obviously, Workado is loved by tech community. Okay, they are not as prevalent in the ERP ecosystem, but overall, if you look at the some of the companies that manage a lot of IT in house, IT typically love Workado just because the kind of training material they have, the kind of pricing they have. Personally, I find their pricing a little bit off. The reason for that is because they charge per recipe, which is going to be per integration point, which could be very expensive for companies when they have a lot of different workflows. I don't know if there is going to be any sort of changes there, but I find that to be slightly more prohibitive for a lot of ERP players. Now, here they are saying Workado's latest funding will be used to further accelerate the company's product roadmap, leadership in the enterprise automation. Workado is launching 10,000 connector initiative with the acquisition of Rails data, which specialize in the connectivity of applications, databases, and devices using API. The round will be used to aid Workado's further expansion in the US, AMEA, and APAC as well. So it seems like they are trying to become the next TIPCO, which is going to be slightly more in the banking, insurance, the IT heavy shops as opposed to in the ERP play. But we'll see as they are going to invest this money where and how, what they do with the money. Okay, so it seems like we don't have any commentary. So I'll give you a little brief about Genius. So guys, if you are not familiar with Genius, they started somewhere in 1989. That's my understanding. And Andy, you can correct me if I'm off here. They have been in the market for a very long time. And sometimes I am shocked that these small companies have been in the market for that long and they have not grown to an extent where, let's say, Infor is, or some of the other companies, for example, Salesforce, they started somewhere in 1999, and they are like, zillion-dollar company right now. But these companies, could not really reach to that potential. But okay, so Genius has always been sort of the Quebec shop. That's their headquarters. They are based off of Montreal. So obviously, you are going to find very heavy focus to the French-speaking audience. I looked at some of their PR material, and their mandate seems to be that they are going to be focusing a lot more in the North American market. So now, if you actually go to some of the review sites, then you are going to find that even if their customers are making comments in French, they are trying to make those comments, or they are trying to respond in English, because those sites are really English. So sometimes it could be funny that your customers are actually speaking French, but then you are trying to speak English. So in case of ERP system, when you have the French ERP system, or Spanish, or Mexican for that matter, it doesn't matter. But the language matters in case of your ERP system, because you are going to be performing your job on a daily basis. And if a system is going to be designed for a specific country, sometimes it could be it could be challenging to use that system for the users. And we are going to review all of that in the comments. Now, from the positioning perspective, Genius likes to target custom manufacturing space. Now, when you look at the custom manufacturing space, it could mean a lot of things. Okay, you could say that, job shops are really the custom manufacturing as well. But if you actually look at their site, they have very clear positioning of the industries that they like to go after, and they are trying to go after the industries that are going to be very heavy in the inventory. Okay, so they are going to have very complex BOMs, and these BOMs are going to require a lot of manipulation. Now, you might argue that, Syspro had 15 levels of BOM. So can I use Syspro for my custom manufacturing? Probably not. Okay, so Genius competes in the spaces where Infor likes to compete. If you look at the Infor Cloud Suite industrial product, they are designed for very configurable products, or the products that are going to be really heavy. If you pay attention to their industries, they are going to be present in very heavy bakery equipments, industrial automation equipments, and some of these equipment providers could have as many SKUs as 3.7 million. And this is coming from the conversation from one of the panels that we had. And one of the, for example, let's say if you look at the OEMs, for example, Caterpillar, okay, or Caterpillar-like OEMs. Some of those OEMs may not be as big. They might be building cars for your farms, but they are still going to have a lot more SKUs compared to a distributor or somebody who is building a smaller part that goes in the part that your OEM is building. So Genius like to position themselves in that space. If you look at the trend in their industries, there is a specific trend. So where you are going to have very, very, very heavy BOM manipulation is where they like to play. They like to play in the ETO space. Now, each of the solution that you have in the market, for example, if you actually go to Plex will never compete in this space because they know that they cannot do ETO project manufacturing. They typically pull off unless somebody is trying to oversell. So Plex is designed for slightly more the automotive centric OEMs. They are going to have very different processes. But that is not to say that Plex can work for the project centric manufacturing or ETO because the processes that these companies are going to have are going to be very different. Some of the unique things that you are going to find in the ETO project centric manufacturing space is you need to release your BOMs iteratively. So even if you have released the BOM, you might have some changes and that you might be doing over the period of time. The next big thing that you are going to have is going to be compare this with your professional services space. So you are going to have a progressive billing because some of these projects could be as long as 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. If you look at some of these industry 4.0 companies, because they are building a large machine and that large machine could take as long as 1 year, 2 year. So you might not accommodate all of your revenue in that financial year. So you need to have all of those accounting processes as part of your system, inventory processes as part of your system. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So that's where Genius likes to play. That's Infor's play. Ideally, Plex should not be competing in these verticals, but sometimes they might be overselling. So overall, from the positioning perspective, these Genius is really designed for the ETO manufacturing. They just target one. They are not really designed for hybrid manufacturing unless they are overselling. Solutions like Infor or Epicor, they are designed for slightly more hybrid manufacturing. They can do a lot more things. They can do Plex, they can do Genius, they can do what else is there? The make to stock, make to order, ETO project manufacturing. So the whole idea of the hybrid manufacturing is going to be when you have multiple businesses and they might have completely different processes. Some of the contract manufacturer you are going to go, they have very different business processes because one time they are building machine and second time they are simply a stamping job. So it could be as diverse as that. The comparable for Genius is going to be, even though they call themselves as the multi-entity solution, but the comparable for them is going to be either GlobalShop overall in terms of the size of the solution. They are not comparable with your Epicor, Infor, SAP, Oracle. They like to compete in that beginning ERP space. The comparable for Genius is probably going to be Syspro. GlobalShop is the right comparison. What else am I missing here? Your E2 Shop Tech is probably going to be right comparison. JobShop 2 is going to be a smaller solution. Any solutions that ECI is probably going to be providing, they are going to be slightly smaller. Macola is probably going to be right comparison for Genius, just to set the right expectations where they like to play and where they are the right fit. What else? Did I miss anything, Andy, that overall from the positioning perspective?
Pretty much dead on. Genius is, you were mentioning how long they've been in business. Yeah, for a long time. Up until 15 years ago, they were really just working in Quebec. And mostly, even though they're in Montreal, mostly French-speaking, Quebecois. About 15 years ago, they started expanding into Ontario and some other areas, and now they're trying to expand into all across North America. But up until 15 years ago, they had like 50 customers, but they were all exceptionally good referenceable customers.
Yeah. I agree. Their references seem to be good, and we'll see that in the reviews as well if customers are speaking the same story. The other things that we typically like to cover that I did not cover as part of my initial briefing is going to be this company is not the private equity owned, as far as my understanding goes. At least I could not find any details around that. I don't know who is really investing in this company. There was no details for the investor. So obviously we didn't have any sort of financial details that we can find. In fact, I had to really struggle to find the demo videos. if you actually go to their YouTube channel, the only demo video that you have is from 5 years back. Okay, so they have not released anything. If you want to look at the demo video, obviously you need to, enter your email address, and then also you might not be looking at the demo. So it seems to be similar mindset as with the, GlobalShop, where the content and the product is going to be fairly gated. They are not as expressive. But overall, from the community momentum perspective, they seem to be promoting a lot of their training material, and they are the only ones who can support this product. They don't have a channel. Genius does not have a channel. So that's another thing that you need to pay attention to, that you are going to be working directly with OEM. Nobody else maintains the knowledge about the product. And when it is going to be so gated, you cannot even have your internal developers work on the product because you are not going to find any knowledge outside of their four walls. Dave, did I miss any other points from the briefing perspective? Okay, from the industry perspective, as I mentioned, there is a little bit of trend. Overall, they like to, attack the ETO, the project-based manufacturing space. That's their sweet spot. Even though from the functionality perspective, it might feel that it can work for a lot of different industries, but project-based manufacturing, or ETO, is really their sweet spot. So here they are talking about machinery and equipment, and these are going to be the large OEMs that are going to have either the agricultural equipment or the mine equipment or construction equipment or Industry 4.0 robots. Those are also sort of the ETO or the project-based manufacturing. Now, if you actually look at the transportation, when you are looking at, let's say, the EV space, electrical vehicle space, when you look at school buses, that is the space that they like to play in. That is similar to your machinery and equipment, because these are going to be really large, long-standing project where you're going to have longer lead time. If you have a critical component that actually goes in your equipment, then you have to wait for that. So you're going to have all of those challenges. The same goes for PV and tank. I have not seen PV and tank defined as the vertical, but kudos to them that they have very clearly spelled out. And by the way, this is a very unique space. Anybody who's going to be, let's say, in the Shell ecosystem, Exxon ecosystem, those guys have very unique requirement, the way they like to work. So PV and tank is a very unique space, and it seems
what does PV stand for, Sam?
I'm going to read that as pressure vessel.
Pressure vessel. There you go.
Right. So an ASME shop, for example.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's kind of what they're talking about as far as traceability goes.
Yeah. Wow. That means that they've got. I mean, if they're targeting pressure vessels, that's pretty intense.
It is intense. And by the way, they have very unique requirement as well. So kudos to them that they are very clearly spelling out who I want to go after. So I really like the positioning, the way Genius has positioned, and they are very crystal clear overall in terms of aligning their target market based on their product capabilities. The automation is going to be similar to your machinery and equipment, in my opinion, but these are the Industry 4.0 shop, which is going to be similar to your OEMs. Food and bakery, the machinery could be extremely complex, so that's why they want to go after that as well. Now, mold, tool, and die, in my opinion, is an outlier. That doesn't fit here, so I don't know why they are targeting that. They could be targeting that because obviously Ontario is very heavy in mold, tool, and die, or maybe Quebec is very heavy in that. So it could be or they might be getting a lot of customer just because they won. So that is definitely an outlier in my mind. I don't think that has any correlation with other 5 verticals. But kudos to them that they have identified the right industries that are going to be really right fit for their product.
I find it kind of interesting because it's been my experience that they've had a lot more success with the mold type, simplistic type manufacturers. So it's interesting that they're targeting ETO.
I mean, their sweet spot as far as and by the way, I had seen them, let's say, playing in some of the architectural firms. I have seen them being present in some of the trade shows, which were slightly more construction centric, but I think they were targeting more of the construction OEMs because they can have the large machinery as well. So yeah, so that it's really designed for the custom manufacturing, project-based manufacturing, and ETO. So let's look at some of the very specific features that these companies are going to require. So when you look at the industrial machinery and equipment, one of the things that you are going to notice in that space, the amount of inventory that you are going to have. If you are going to have file-based database, such as your E2 shop tech, that's going to explode. I'm telling you guys, it's not designed for that. Okay. So that's why Genius likes to have that SQL backend, and they have the SQL backend. And that's why they are able to do what your GlobalShop or your ProShops might not be able to do, even if they are going to claim that, I can actually target those industries. So Genius has a very unique play, especially in that small space, to be honest. And they are the only company that is targeting this specific space that I don't know if you are going to have a path when you are switching, let's say, from QuickBooks, and you are in that under $5 million space, and you want a solution that is not as big as, let's say, Infor or SAP, and you want to have a path, this could be a great solution from the positioning perspective. So tons of inventory, machines, and processes. This is what makes machinery equipment manufacturing a challenge. The multi-level assemblies. So here, the multi-level assemblies are going to be really tricky. Even if Syspro claims that, they can work with the multi-level assemblies up to 15 levels, Syspro is not designed for this purpose. Okay, do not use Syspro for this, vertical. Genius slightly better the way their BOMs are going to be structured. So kudos to them that they have really identified that. Now, there are going to be some very specific challenges. They have said that, parts get allocated twice and aren't on the shelf when you need them. I don't really understand what they mean by that. Unless your processes are broken, why would the parts get allocated twice? I don't know if you guys are going to have any comments there. Okay.
A bug in the software?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's not like if it's allocated, the system thought it was used twice. It doesn't make sense.
No, but they are highlighting it as a feature. So maybe there are some process nuances in that space. And if they are highlighting that as a marketing play, that means there must be some challenges that we probably don't know as a group here. So yeah, let's not call them out. Nobody is going to highlight the bugs in their marketing material. I don't think that will be very smart. So there is some feature that I am personally not familiar with it. If you guys are familiar, please comment.
Are we saying? I think that they're saying that that's the challenge that you face. So the challenge that you face is that parts get allocated twice and they aren't on the shelf when you need them. And
Angela,
then,
you're not just a pretty face.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, Andy. So, however, with Genius, the solution is ...
Right. So that's going to be any ERP, I guess, if you have your inventory in order. So why is, Genius so special here? That is something I'm simply trying to read between the lines if I'm missing anything here. But Genius is not doing anything genius here. It's just an ERP, just like any other ERP that, ERP is going to prevent your parts to be allocated twice. Okay. So let's move to the next point, which is going to be MRP ready BOMs and RFQs can be used instead to start fast out the gates on other projects. I don't know if I understand this. I could not find anything unique, to be honest. Maybe there is some play here in the industrial machinery space that we don't understand, but the language seems a little trickier overall how they have positioned it. If you guys have any comment, I can take those on this line. Otherwise, we will move to some of the other industries. So in case of automation solutions, go from CAT bill of materials with one-click CAT to BOM while facilitating RFQ submissions to your suppliers. Now that line is very critical, guys. Okay, so here they are saying I can do one click, and again, a lot of smaller solutions might not be able to do that. But here, what they are doing is they are also doing the RFQ submissions with your suppliers. That could mean a lot of different things. Maybe they have a little bit of collaboration capabilities when you are doing your quotes. So we are going to review some of these screens. I think they have some capability that could be slightly trickier overall. So they have those capabilities. Now, the biggest differentiator that I could find is facilitate, product lifecycle management with ease, identify issues in process, track warranties. You are not going to find warranties in a lot of different solutions. There's no way in the hell JobBoss is going to have warranty. And in case of OEM, you require those warranties because they live. I mean, that's part of their offering. They make a lot of money because of warranties. So Genius can support all of that. I can almost guarantee that Syspro is probably not going to have warranties. Quality measures, customer relations through cost, estimation at the design phase, purchasing for long lead times. Now, if you guys have any experience with long lead times, I don't know if that is going to throw anything off. Andy, do you have any experience? Have you seen any challenges with long lead times?
Well, I'm trying to understand that sentence. Does it say purchasing for long? What is the word before that?
I am
Preliminary.
Yes. Sorry.
Preliminary purchasing for long lead times. Okay, so that's probably what that probably means is that the lead times are longer than what you need for a specific job. So you're getting a forecast of what you're going to need in the future, and therefore purchasing just in time.
Yeah. Or maybe it's managing blanket orders, Andy.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it could be.
So you're laying an order out there for a year's worth, let's say, or more, and then you're relieving that as you release it. You're releasing that. There's a particular process to that, and often I found ERP systems that's an outside the ERP workaround process, where how you set that up. So maybe they have something there that's managing that.
It appears to be more of purchasing to a forecast.
So,
but that seems odd for an ETO product.
My understanding of this was similar to the process that we see in the mainstream ERP, that is going to be identifying the short components before releasing your order or the changes to your BOM to your production floor. So you want to make sure that you have the components, because some of these could have the lead time. That would be my understanding of the long lead time, because you don't want to disrupt your shop floor just because you are going to be short of one critical component. But I personally have not seen any specific issues with that in the scheduling.
But it could be a component of demand planning. Certainly could.
That's what it appears to be, but a system this size that's designed for ETO, which does not have a forecast, you wouldn't think it would have demand planning capabilities, but yeah, who knows?
I agree. No, demand planning is not going to be there. They are not really operating in that space. If they were operating in automotive, and that's probably the reason why they are not operating in the automotive, because you are going to have similar products, but that is actually driven by your consumer demand. So it's a very different process there. That's why.
My point was maybe just a component. You just take a slice of demand planning and say, I have this project that has longer lead time items, and I want the ERP system to help me manage that as if it's kind of a demand planning light for that project. So, I mean, I'm just trying to think through what this could be. I could see it being something like that, even in the ETL space.
Okay, guys, so let's move on. So here we are saying the product lifecycle management for service quality and true cost assessment. So the service quality is going to be fairly critical as well, because we are looking at long-standing projects. So you want to make sure that you have the right vendors who are going to be supplying the products at the right time. Otherwise, your entire project could be delayed. And again, some of these, applications could be your robotic applications, where you have giant forearms, where you are doing, some sort of cutting of, large wood or something like that. I don't know. I mean, there could be so many different robotic applications, and sometimes they are going to use these large control systems as part of their component, and you have to manage the entire process as part of your project-based manufacturing or the ATO. So here, now let's look at some other industries. So here they are saying, in transportation, you can manage your dealer accounts and relations with GeniusERP. So now you have a little bit of distribution flavor, and this is going to be similar to your HVAC space, Phil, there where you have to manage the relationship with your contractors. In their case, it's going to be the dealer accounts, because you are dealing with, I don't know, maybe they deal with the automotive dealers. In their case, it's going to be the dealers that are actually selling these large equipments. So these are going to be either the dealers or they are going to be the service shops. So that could be a very tricky functionality as well. Bring low production run margins in line with that of high production run margins. I don't know what that means. For reputation that rides on quality. So they are calling high variable, low volume production runs. Typically, job shop are going to use the high mix, low volume, but this product is not really designed for job shop. That's probably the reason why they are using high variable, low volume production runs, including real-time inventory and production planning, monitor employees and vendor quality. The monitoring of the employee could be critical as well, because you are going to have a specific skill set that is going to throw your project off. Because if you need a qualified electrician that needs to work on the control system before you can do something else in your process, you will not be able to move forward. That's why that skill set, the incorporation of the skill set as part of the scheduling, is going to be super critical in their case.
The interesting comment there is that the fact that it's real-time inventory and production planning, that implies it's not MRP centric. It's more actual demand centric. So I that's kind of like the opposite of what we were assuming on the other comment about the purchasing for long lead times.
Yeah, so we might be splitting here. Here, to be honest, I mean, I don't think they mean like the real time. They simply meant that they can probably do MRP here and they can do production planning. I don't think there's anything special here overall from the inventory perspective. It's just the vanilla ERP functionality, that's what. But obviously for the larger equipments, the easily modify base price and BOM depending on selected preset options, merge and progressively. Now, this is really special, guys. A lot of smaller ERP systems will not be able to support that. Your job shops don't require this. But here you are actually comparing, merging, progressively releasing BOMs. That's a big deal, guys.
That sounds like a configurator, doesn't it?
No. So okay, so a lot of ERP systems, once you release your job, that's it. You are done. You cannot, release the modifications to your BOM. Let's say if you are short on one component, you cannot release the same component on the same job on the production floor because you have hit the production floor. You're not supposed to update that. But in the large machinery space, you are going to have very iterative process. You started with something, then you figured out, you know what, I wasn't, thinking how the machine is going to be done. So I need some more components, or maybe the process needs to change. So you need to change the real BOM in real time, and that you need to release, and you need to track the cost of the entire project. You need to do the estimation. You need to make sure that you are able to do the financial analysis. So it's far heavier lift than what you're thinking, Andy.
That's okay. So it's more like engineering change control.
No,
and capturing the costs for engineering change controls.
In my opinion, I think it's bigger than that.
You think it's bigger? Okay.
Yeah. ECN is going to be in a lot of electronic shops as well, but they don't necessarily release the BOMs over the period of time. ECN is very common in aerospace defense, in the electronic shop, but this is slightly different. Here we are really there. Literally using progressive word, which would mean the way you would do your progressive invoices as part of the project. You have 50% down, 40% down, 10% down. The same words they have used for the BOMs as well. And again, these capabilities are not going to be available in your Plex. They are not going to be available in your Syspro. Definitely not in Macola. There is no way in the hell in any of the job shop ERP systems. So either you are going to find these capabilities in case of your Infor. I don't know if Epicor has that, because Epicor does not like to play in this space either. So it's going to be Genius, Infor. These are going to be the systems that are going to be really good at this space.
So why are those milestone payments not available in other ERP systems?
Because they don't support the project-based manufacturing. The project-based manufacturing is very different. It's almost like selling an ERP system versus producing a job in a day. These are two very different processes. So when you say job shop, you are looking at, okay, I'm trying to produce a widget and I am trying to produce 500 widgets, versus you are trying to construct a rocket or an airplane. That's a very different deal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that's why the project is going to be, Angela, your core, the way you would like to manage the project. That's the project-based manufacturing. And, you are going to have a bunch of jobs that are going to be a lot of manufacturing that you have to. A lot of people don't really understand the difference between project-based manufacturing and the job-based manufacturing, but there is a massive difference in the way the process works. So here they are saying that they have some sort of upsell cross-sell functionality. Again, that's slightly more distribution-centric functionality, but they require that because you are working with dealers. They will require you need to sell the warranty. You need to sell a piece of equipment, or maybe so those functionalities are going to be required in the large OEM space. Serialized parts. A lot of smaller ERP systems might not have as sophisticated functionality for the serialized parts, but these guys can do that. And by the way, they have the serialized parts by lot and date codes, guys. Okay, this you are going to find only in case of pharma ERP systems, because they need both the lot number as well as serialized numbers. Somehow these guys have that, but they are being absolutely honest that they are not trying to target pharma. So kudos to them that even though they might have that functionality, but they are not trying to over target anybody else. Install demand-based procurement for lean manufacturing. I think that's meaningless. There is nothing much there. So let's move to the next slide. Here we are talking about PV. PV is going to have very specific functionality. All of your, Shell, the Exxon of the world, they are going to require a lot of compliance when you are going to be selling a part to them. So obviously the ASME compliance, as Phil mentioned, is going to be part of that. You cannot do business with Shell unless you have that. So it seems like these guys have that built. Again, that's a key piece of functionality. If Genius has that, great. Including material test reports, those, and again, that gets very detailed overall in terms of what they need in those reports. And on-site installations. On-site installation is a very different process. If your ERP system is not really designed for that, job shops don't really do the on-site installations. These are going to be very specific businesses that require on-site installation. That itself could be a project. So some of these projects are going to be, for example, let's say if you look at in the electrical space, maybe they are doing the lighting for the entire hallway. Those could be ETO manufacturers as well. They are going to have very different needs from the ETO perspective. Then you have the estimate to actual cost. Each consecutive project, again, this could be slightly harder lift if you are not really designed for project-based manufacturing. Build a historical record to base quotations and total product cost for future projects. Compare and merge BOMs. We have already discussed this. Progressive release of BOMs. We have already discussed this. So the multiple industry verticals require this functionality. That's the reason why they are targeting all of these industry verticals. Then they have the schedule by customer due date or by capacity. Some ERP systems may be limited with that. They are supporting both by due date as well as capacity. So their scheduling is slightly more complex than you would see in the other ERP systems. Now, let's look at the food and bakery equipment. Now, in case of food and bakery equipment, they have been very, very, very thorough in defining which are the verticals they are targeting. And they are being very specific here, if you notice. They are saying pumps, fillers, depositors, cookie machines, decorating equipment, and sprayers. And these are the verticals that they are like. I have not seen anybody being this specific. Okay, they are really deliberate in the kind of industries they want to compete in. Super smart in my mind. Multi-stage ETO manufacturing, food and bakery equipment often requires. There's something missing here. I think they are going to require similar processes as the other verticals that we have seen. Long lead time, purchasing in fraction of time, progressive BOM. We have already seen that is required for F&B equipment as well. Advanced progress billings within one system and easily track past due payments. Maintain a historical record of client to increase cross-sell and upsell opportunity. The lead dealers are actually going to love that, OEM dealers especially. Now, employee performance tracking based on real-time reports and indicators. There is a little bit of WFM component as part of that, so that's fairly unique as well. Now, in case of, if you actually pay attention to their mold, tool, and die functionality, at least I could not find anything unique there. Okay, so as you can clearly see, that is just an outlier. They are trying to sell to mold, tool, and die just because they can sell, but they don't have anything unique to sell to mold, tool, and die. Okay, if you guys have any comment, I can take those, or we can discuss some of the features. The majority of the features we have already covered as part of the industry, but they seem to have the advanced planning, which might not be present in some of the smaller ERP system comparable to your Genius. So good for them. The last minute changes is a big deal in a lot of verticals, especially if you look at in this particular case where you are going to have long-standing project, the requirements change over as you move through the project. So you need to accommodate those changes. Your BOMs should be able to accommodate all of those changes. So obviously Genius can support that. Other ERP systems are going to fall short. Here we are talking about the engineering, where we are saying progressive BOM release. Again, we have discussed this for lightweight assembly and partial transfer of project. So sometimes your project is going to require partial transfer, because what you might do is, okay, I have done POC. Now I need to install at my client side. I need to come back again and then figure out what happened with the study. Then I need to go back to client side again. So it's a very involved process when you look at these project manufacturing scenario. So Genius can support all of that. Compare and merge BOMs, we have already seen that. Quality control, it's inbuilt, which is great, that we have not found in a lot of different comparable ERP systems. And they do have Excel integration. Again, when you have such a heavy inventory, you are probably going to require very deep Excel capabilities. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So that's why they have very native Excel integration capabilities. and that is going to be required for your project-based manufacturing. Now, from the accounting perspective, even though they are claiming they have multi-company, at least in the screenshot, I could not see that. This seems to be a more of the single tenant product, that those are the customers they are trying to target, even though in the marketing materials they are claiming that they can work with the larger facilities. I really don't believe it, to be honest. Okay, it's not designed to be the multi-tenant product. Definitely not. If you have a smaller manufacturing facility and if you're OEM, this could be the right product, but not more than that. The chart of account structure with up to 5 segments. So again, the cost tracking is going to be very involved in case of your project-based manufacturing. That's why their costing is very complex as well. So kudos to them. You are not going to find this in other systems. Now, here they have smart scheduling. They are doing priority-based scheduling, which is fairly unique, that you are not going to find even in the larger ERP systems. Majority of them are driven by due dates. So they are able to do this based on priority, which is wonderful. Tools to simulate beginning and end date, priority management system to prioritize bottlenecks, labor scheduling, and labor loading. I think these are very key features of a sophisticated planning and scheduling system that they seem to have. Now, let's look at the project management. They are saying real-time visual progression captured from your plan and install site. Again, as your project moves through different phases, you need to have the entire perspective in where you are, because we are talking about millions of dollars, guys, in one project. Okay, that's a big deal. So you definitely need to have understanding of where you are with respect to your project. That's why your project-based manufacturing is very different compared to your traditional job shop. Add milestones related to your material, customer approval, finished product. You are going to have milestone. Your customers are going to ask you, there's going to be performance-based payments. You have to prove the concept and then only you're going to pay it. Again, those things are not going to be supported by your vanilla ERP system if they are not really designed for project-based manufacturing. Long lead times is a similar concept that we discussed before. Complete, no, this also we discussed before. I don't have anything unique here other than that. So I am actually going to move to the next slide. Here they have come up with another smaller system that is called Gear Up. This is the self-managed ERP system. This is going to be similar to your QuickBooks Play. I don't know how successful that is going to be, but everybody is trying to do the self-serve ERP system. ERP systems are not really designed for that, especially if you are a small manufacturer. You don't even have your inventory in order. How are you going to pull off the ERP implementation? You are better off hiring somebody like Phil or Dave so that they can structure your inventory before you can go for an ERP system. So even though the idea is great on paper, that's not going to work. Everybody's trying to follow the same. But for Genius, it's genius. And the reason why it is genius is because they are going to be making a lot of money in professional services once you are going to screw up your inventory. And that's their primary business model, because they make a lot of money from professional services. So pay attention to that, guys.
Is this the ramp-up system?
Yeah. So this is going to be QuickBooks Play ND. So this is a smaller ERP system that they have positioned for the smaller customers, who can do this implementation in the DIY mode. Okay, do it as yourself.
There is a system, and I think it's out of Quebec. I didn't realize it was the same company, but it's called Ramp Up. And if you look at that very first sentence, a new way to get started with GeniusERP, Ramp Up.
No, that is just a verb that they are using. I think.
You think so?
A ramp up system.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's not the same. Okay, so now let's look at some of these screens, and I found some interesting, things about their screens similar to what we saw in case of ProShop. And this is my problem with these ERP systems, especially when you don't have the accounting background. When you started as more of the manufacturing system, you don't really understand how accounting is supposed to work, how inventory is supposed to work. So when you are going to look at their screens, it's going to feel all over the place. In fact, if you are going to pay attention to the reviews, there you are going to find that the people who are coming from slightly more robust ERP system, or if they might have a robust ERP system in another division, they will find hard time integrating with it because the accounting is not going to feel the same. Okay, it's very different. So I will show you a couple of things. It's not as bad as ProShop, but you will still feel that it's just all over the place. Things are getting mixed overall, with respect to information hierarchy. So this is the purchase order screen. And by the way, pay attention to the screen, guys. This is a very desktop-y app. Okay, this is even the newer screens that I have seen. 5 years back, they had similar screens, and also today their screens are fairly similar. So they have not been able to innovate with the cloud native development. Okay, it's a very old, outdated technology that they are still selling, and they are not able to catch up from the technical perspective. Okay, and most likely, even if they are selling it as cloud, it is not going to be even close to being fake cloud, guys. Even fake clouds are better, to be honest. Okay, this is a really, really ugly, old, backstoppy technology, but you get what you pay for. So so again, it's not going to be as expensive as the other systems, but obviously you are not going to get the coolest technology. It's going to impact your efficiency because the technology is going to be slower, but again, you get what you paid for. So here we are looking at the purchase order screen. I have seen terms such as applicant. I have no idea what applicant means in case of a purchase order. Now, is that the operator the way we have seen in case of ProShop? It does not make any sense whatsoever. Okay, now look at some of the things such as you have warehouse right here. Sure, the warehouse should probably go at the line level because you are trying to take the item from a specific warehouse. So why do you have warehouse at the parent level? Again, I am not able to follow. So typically the warehouse is actually going to be at the line level. Now look at the dates. There are a bunch of dates, and I don't know how they are correlated. Okay, so you have the purchase date, delivery date, revised. So it just seems like they have done a lot of things from the scheduling perspective because they want to mimic the same experience as you would deliver your project, software development project. So they try to create an ERP system that is going to have the similar experience as your software development. But guys, it's different, right? If you are going to go to some other ERP system, the experience is going to be very different. Your data information architecture is going to be very different. So you will need to pay a lot of money to clean up this data before you can go to the next one if you are choosing to go with Genius. And that same story we saw in case of ProShop as well, that they have gone way too far off from the core ERP information architecture. And that is my problem with these smaller ERP systems. Now, if you look at the other things, so shipping has prepaid, you have a little bit of carrier there. Again, I am not sure if I follow the information architecture. We have terms, but terms is it's not. It's a very text field, as you can see. It's not even a object that you would expect in any decent sized ERP system. If you look at the purchase order details, it seems like a POS system, to be honest, the way they are calculating. So you have the item, you have the order quantity, you have the unit, you have the cost, then you have the net cost. I could not follow this along, to be honest. Based on when I look at different ERP systems, the mainstream ERP system, this is way too off overall in terms of the information architecture. And that would be my problem. And by the way, this is coming from 2015, and this was the only demo that they had on YouTube. Otherwise, it was all gated. Now, if you look at their, some of the other screens where they have job type as make to order. This is very strange, especially if you compare this with mainstream ERP system. Why are you calling job type as make to order when you are really engineered to order ERP system? I really don't get that. Then you have a GL code here. Typically, the GL code should not be at the work order level because the whole idea of ERP system is you are trying to isolate accounting from your sales order, work orders, so that you don't have to coach your shop floor, what a GL code is. It's not going to fly with them because they make $20 an hour and they are not supposed to know what GL code is. So again, why do you have GL code at the work order level? I could not follow this. And by the way, GL code is going to have a lot of hierarchy in the background when you are going to have at the work order level, because you need to go through the business rules to be able to apply the right GL code. And then you have the order entry, shipment entry, invoices, material planning at the work order management level. I don't get this, guys.
Interesting.
I just don't get it. Okay, then here we are saying this is the payment planning. This is how the payment planning should look. By the way, this is a beautiful feature, guys. If you didn't know how the progressive invoice works, that goes at the quote level. So during the quote, you are making the promises with your customer and you need to comply with your promise. So this has to be supported at the quote level, not at the invoice level. If somebody is saying, you know what, I can do at the invoice level, no, sir, you are not designed for project-based manufacturing. Okay, so the accounting is very, very, very different. These are the segments that they had from the accounting perspective. You have 5 segments, which is very detailed, and that's what you would require for your project-based manufacturing, because you really need to have your cost in check and control. By the way, this is the fancy cloud native screen. So what they are trying to do is they must be demoing their CRM, not the ERP guys. Okay, this is very tricky. So this is the cloud native screen, as you guys can clearly see the difference between ERP and the CRM. So when you are going to see the demo, you are most likely going to see the CRM, and they are going to hide the ERP. So pay attention to what you are seeing. This is a completely different product. This is mobile native, guys. This can work on mobile, but your ERP is still very desktopy. That is doing the heavy lifting behind the scene. That is what you are going to use on a daily basis. But they do have the cloud native CRM that is sitting on top of your ERP. By the way, they are also they sell it as the standalone ERP. They also sit on top of Sage. If you look at their marketing material, they are calling themselves as the Sage developer. So they have integrated with Sage 50. Can you believe this, guys? ACPAC. Okay, so that is the play they have, and Sage 50 is the beginning accounting platform similar to QuickBooks from Sage. So that's the space that they are playing in. They can sell it on top of Sage, or you can use their accounting, but I will really doubt their accounting. A lot of people are not going to trust Genius, so they are still using Sage as the accounting. And then, Sage obviously does not have very robust manufacturing functionality, so they are going to be using Genius. That's how they are using the Genius overall.
That's very interesting. Actually, ACPAC is Sage 300. Sage 50 is like the old Simply.
So they
got some very basic accounting.
So they are playing in both ecosystems. You will see that in the reviews, Andy. So they are sitting on top of Sage 50 in some cases. In other cases, they are sitting on top of ACPAC, which is, you are right, that is the Sage 300 product. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So here, guys, we are going to do the reviews quickly. So here, this is coming from 2020. They have reported some challenges. I think this is the user's problem. This is not really the Genius problem, especially if the user is coming off from QuickBooks. So they are saying change a confirmed transaction, but this limits the ability to easily fix mistakes. Instead of detecting or changing an invoice, you have to credit and remake it. So once you confirm your order that is already invoiced, then then it's already posted. So you have to go through the accounting laws. So in my opinion, I think this is more of the user problem. Genius is doing a good job of controlling the accounting standards. Here, the comparable are listed in this review. As you can see, SAP Business One, GlobalShop, QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise, that is the right space for them. These are the right comparables for them. Here, the implementation is relatively difficult. Guys, this is the beginning ERP system. This is not even as complex as your SAP. So this is the easiest that you can get from the ERP perspective. ERP systems are designed to be complex. So go easy on you if you're finding it difficult. Loading the ETM module is long in case of long assemblies. You are going to have performance issues if you are going to be really heavy overall with respect to your BOMs, because the system is very small. It's designed for smaller equipment manufacturers. It's not designed to run the 200 employee company, in my mind. Okay, obviously the bigger you are going to get, the more processing power you are going to need, and they are not necessarily designed for that. It is difficult to correct errors or modify a job in progress. Okay, so this is, I don't know why they are calling it difficult. This was their advantage. They were saying that I can release any BOM changes that you are looking for, but they are saying it's difficult. So I don't know if that functionality is really supported or it is just the marketing hype. If you have the real ERP system designed for your project-based manufacturing, this should be possible. Okay, so
very few ERPs on the market, even though they're claiming ETO or project, very few can change work orders once they've been released. Now, it's difficult to correct errors or modify a job in process or progress. That sounds what it is that once it's released, it's the way it is, which is kind of a weird limitation for an ETO product.
Yes. So yeah, all of those products that are going to have that limitation is not going to work. And you might have that limitation in case of Genius as well, even though they are claiming that they don't have that in their marketing material. So Genius is definitely made for mass production. Now, pay attention to this, guys. Okay, so they are saying it's designed for mass production. So the users are feeling that, it's designed for mass production, not for the custom manufacturing.
Isn't that weird?
Crazy.
It's exact opposite again. Hi, sweetheart.
Exactly. So users are feeling something different for some reason. I don't know why. But users are definitely feeling. The biggest roadblock that you are going to get in
Thank
case
you.
of Genius, if you don't have your channel, then what you need to do is you need to have at least your support in order.
Yeah, nice.
In their case, the support is going to be only Monday to Friday, and that is going to be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Can you believe this, guys? Okay, so if you are actually processing your orders over the weekend and you need to call Genius, they are not going to pick the call, and there is nobody is going to be in the world that can support you. Can you believe this?
Just left to figure it out on your own, Sam. Good luck.
You're expected to be a genius.
Right?
I suppose that time is also for Quebec, right?
Again, it's going to be extremely tricky when you are running these. Again, it's a huge red flag in my mind. I don't know why you would do that. Or hire a channel that can support you 24/7. But, when your ERP system is not going to be working.
What are the hours it says, Sam? I can't read it.
So it's really from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. They don't work over weekends. They don't work during evenings. That's not how IT is supposed to work, guys. I'm sorry. IT is supposed to be working 24/7 because you need to be supporting your users if they are trying to run their business. And how are you going to do?
Their hotline support's a little bit different. Commonly, customers will send an email or post something on the web, and then the company will get back to them, but it's not real time. So maybe that's what that is all about.
But you can still submit a ticket on Saturday and get a response to that ticket.
On
you have
Monday.
to be able to.
Yeah, on Monday.
Right, but you would probably expect a little, let's say if you have a showstopper, let's say and this is the OEM support where, let's say your system is down or you brought it down for some reason. You need somebody, guys. You are not able to process your...
That's the point I would pick up on. I think, somewhere on their website, when I was taking a look at that earlier, they kind of tout that you're going to be working directly with them. So in that case, and if you're paying for a, service maintenance agreement ongoing, you would expect that level of service. You'd get that level of service with, pretty much any other vendor of this caliber.
Yeah, and this is going to be huge, red flag in my mind, especially if you're going to be using your robotic cells that are going to be doing a lot of production, in the evening. So you are trying to be 24/7 from the manufacturing perspective to increase your capacity, but your ERP is going to be bottlenecked. That's not very smart, in my opinion. I think that's a huge red flag. So pay attention to that. Okay, some more, commentary here. The BOM library change interface, for some reason, basic function. I don't know what that means. Blanket system inventory. So they have reported. And by the way, I don't really follow what this user was trying to say, but they have reported that, the basic functions don't work that this user needed. Here, one of the sophisticated user has reported, maybe he or she has used a little bit more sophisticated ERP system. So they were saying, security and data privacy are a real challenge. Controlling who can see labor hours and labor cost and the ability to drive hourly rates by employees is very complex and not intuitive. And the ability to control who sees what is powerful. Again, you are going to find that in the real ERP systems. Obviously, Genius is a great app. It's not supposed to be your, complex SAP ERP system. Where you are going to have appropriate control. It has hardly 7 different modules, and obviously you are not going to have all of that control. So don't expect that. Again, you get what you pay for. So if you are looking for a cheaper ERP system, obviously Genius is great, but don't expect all of that. So you have to pay for everything all the time. Very poor customer service. Their business model is designed around professional services. So anytime you are going to require any change, you have to pay to Genius. You are going to be completely reliant on them. Here they are saying each window takes roughly 5 to 8 seconds to open. I believe you, because this is a very clunky technology. Obviously, it's going to be slow. Everything seems very slow. We average about double the amount on maintenance and update fees than we already pay for a yearly subscription. So we get the free updates. Again, there is a lot of complaint about, the updates and maintenance. You need to involve their team. You need to pay a lot of money. So yeah, so the license dollars that you are going to be comparing with your Genius to your SAP Business One or Macola is not going to be same, because you are paying a lot more in your professional services. So do the comparison, talk to some of the customers and read the reviews. You pay them, so you are allowed to get updates for free. Okay, so this is about the maintenance and update. I have some more comments. Genius is not entirely web-based. We have discussed this, that it's a very desktopy technology. They have not really innovated that. We have run into situations where the software is not advanced enough to support us on automation projects that we would like to implement. They are not able to do that. Customization of reports can be costly because, again, you have to go back to your Genius to be able to create every report, because nobody knows what the software does, and they will not appreciate when you are going to be doing the reports yourself, because you don't have the training material, you don't have communities. So how are you going to do that? So you are really creating a very deep vendor lock who is not going to be working over the weekend. Even if you want to. Okay, so not completely intuitive, very similar to SAP transaction based software. So here, the people who have used SAP will find it strange, guys. And when they say SAP, it would mean SAP, NetSuite, Acumatica, any of the mainstream ERP systems, because they follow a specific guideline how the ERP systems are designed and how they are supposed to work. Here the complaint is really about the user interface. I have to keep 8 different pages. Obviously, you don't really have the connectivity, which again, the software is not as complex. So if you require that, then you need to go for slightly better ERP systems, not with Genius. Okay, so this user wasn't sure how the accounting, they would match up the accounting with their parent company. That was the problem that they reported. Again, this is the same complaint that we are getting, because their accounting is a little off. In my mind, the way I like to see accounting and the accounting systems, it's just off. In my opinion. Okay, so here the inventory movements with custom reports with all relevant information is expandable format. Excel, for example, SAP, there is transaction called MB51 that is so useful to produce custom reports. Again, this is a very, if you are really inventory heavy and you are claiming that I can work for these larger OEMs where you are going to have 3.7 million SKUs, then you should be able to support the basic inventory report, but seems like they don't have that. The biggest shocking comment that you are going to find in the user reviews, that most of the functions that you have in case of your software, they are still very French centric. Okay, even if they are using the translation, that translation could feel like French. Okay, because it's a very French software. So you might not be able to connect, relate with it. If you are in Quebec, this is gold, because you are not going to find a software that is going to be speaking the French the way you speak. But outside of that, it could be challenging, because they are still very French software, even though they are trying to be slightly more English. But in case of software, it could be a problem overall.
Well, the very last paragraph was kind of interesting on that previous screen.
Okay, so the last is Genius is designed so that every time simply does an update. So this is the problem. This is the Simply accounting from Sage. So they are saying that if Simply actually does an update, that Genius is going to take 2 weeks to release the update from their end, and then only Genius is going to be able to work with Simply. And this is the problem that you are going to see when your ERP system is not going to be completely connected. So what are you going to do? Are you simply going to stop your business for 2 weeks until the software is updated? Maybe you have a test system. Maybe you can figure that out there. Maybe you can manage that somehow.
It's a perfect example of any of these ERP, quote unquote, ERP systems that rely on third-party add-ons. That integration has to be symmetrical and everything has to be done at exactly the same time with upgrades, or it won't work.
Exactly. I completely agree, Andy.
And I think the biggest challenge is nobody knows that until it's too late, Andy. I mean, it gets back into asking the right questions. And, Sam, you said something earlier that I jotted down, and it just kind of resonated with me throughout this. And we've seen it, I think, in a couple of the other sessions. But, when it comes to evaluating these systems, a lot of times when it feels like you're checking the boxes and has the features and benefits that you really want, having a forward look for your business and really understanding what do you want out of your business, how far do you think you're going to be able to grow this business, and then evaluating a system towards that future growth, and not just necessarily being solely focused on today's environment and what you maybe can afford today from an investment perspective, because you're going to pay for it sooner or later. You're going to pay for data migration or data cleanup. So I felt like that was something really worthwhile to just throw back out there to you. That was my one key takeaway from today.
Well, and I would say on this one, the ETO capabilities was impressive, And, if you can do material management in a pressure vessel environment, especially if you're doing field manufacturing as well and installation as well, so you're sending pieces and doing final assembly in the field, those were really impressive things. But what's built around that was pretty concerning, that you'd have to probably put some third-party things around that for the total business operation, and having the alignment between those two is concerning. I'm kind of used to the opposite, where there's a strong ERP package and some of the management of the QC and the other things going on in project management is actually off system, and that's more of a manual, spreadsheet type system. So I thought they had some good things, but it was incomplete. And maybe that's, like you say, in this place and is at this price point, you can't expect to have all those types of things, I would think, in this type of price point.
It is a great price. And, I've talked to many companies that have the product, and including ETO companies. The oddest or the most interesting comment was that when their hotline is available, the times are available, but that goes hand in hand with how big the company is and how much R&D and how much they can afford for support. An interesting comment that I've been heard many times is that when you're doing inquiries in the software, it's mostly in a report format, not real-time online, which I thought was really odd. But that might have been an older version too, though.
Well, I was just going to reiterate along the lines of what Phil was saying. I thought that some of the tools were really interesting. It is nice to see some of the project management and quality system there. I was really impressed with the fact that they had a corrective action capabilities and the ability to have some vendor management included, and then of course the project management, which could be applied to so many different industries, but it is, as we've discussed, a little bit light in so many areas that we consider core to a true ERP system. So yeah, this was a very good session, Sam. Thank you.
Okay, amazing, guys. So my closing comments are going to be, hey, if you are a very small project manufacturing shop, then this is a great product, and the comparable here are going to be, again, it's going to be your GlobalShop. GlobalShop is going to be terrible in your project manufacturing environment. So you are doing yourself a favor by going with Genius, but don't stay on Genius once you reach to, let's say, $10 million point, because it is really designed for that GlobalShop play, the small SysPro play. Pro is probably going to be superior product. And by the way, if you are a mold tool and die shop, you are better off going with some of those other products, because this product is not the right fit. So make sure you understand where the product is positioned and which industries it is trying to target and what it is really designed for and where you are going to outgrow. On that note, I really want to thank everybody for your time.
Good night.
Thanks, Sam.
Hey, everybody.
I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Andy Pratico, head over to essoft.com. It's ESSOFT.com. If you want to learn more about Phil Kerper, head over to ringlingbusinesssolutions.com. It's ringlingbusinesssolutions.com. If you want to learn more about Angela Thurman, head over to thurmanco.com. It's THURMANCO.com. If you want to learn more about Dave Chrysler, head over to thechrysler.club. It's THECRYSLER.CLUB. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, you might want to check other related episodes, including the interview with Randy Johnston from K2 Enterprises, who discusses why process documentation is essential to manage growth. Also, the interview with Jim Gidney from Group 50, who shares his thoughts on each inflection point for companies and what they need to know to identify them and move to the next by making necessary changes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.